What up guys, it's Dragon Ball for Life here today and I'm back with another video. Now today's video we're going to react to a channel called Carthu's Dojo. The video is called The Unearned Power-Ups of Dragon Ball. Now I'm assuming, I don't know what this video is going to be completely about, but from the title alone, I think he's going to be talking about certain characters that had ridiculous power-ups that people had a problem with. Personally, you guys know my opinion on this already. I've talked countless times on my channel about how I hate certain characters' power-ups throughout the franchise, especially in modern day Dragon Ball. With, the Golden Frieza, then, with Broly, Kale, Caulifla, and their Kefla fusion, Trunks, and 17. Now, I don't hate all these characters, I just hate the power-ups and the BS that they got, that led them to getting that power. Like, for example, Beast Gohan and Orange Piccolo. I have no problem with Gohan and Piccolo getting stronger, I just have a problem with how they made them get stronger. So I felt like it was very unearned, and I felt like if they want to do it that way, at least do it in a more creative and reasonable way. But also some characters I don't think should have gotten a power-up at all, and weren't deserving of it. But hey, it was their decision to make that. I can't do anything about that. But as a fan, I can definitely complain about what I don't like. So I'm guessing he's going to be talking about that, but I could be wrong. I don't really know fully. I haven't checked this video out before. This is basically a fresh reaction. Because sometimes I do watch some of the videos beforehand, so I get better of a gist of what the video is going to be about, so I can get better on my points. But for this one, I don't really know. But with that being said, let's get into it.
The longer Dragon Ball goes on, the more people throw around a specific phrase, unearned power-up. Whether it be a transformation, a new technique, or even just a character getting stronger in a disagreeable way, you'll always hear about unearned power-ups. So let's go over every power-up that's supposedly unearned in the series and see if it actually is. Original Dragon Ball is where we'll start, but honestly, there aren't many cases of a character powering up in a way that isn't training related. I think the first one you could look at is Goku fighting against Giran. No, not Jiren, I mean Giran, Goku's opponent in the 21st Tenkaichi Budokai. Giran uses his merry-go-round gum technique to entirely immobilize Goku, and seemingly he can't escape. That is, until his tail conveniently grows back, and even more convenient, this lets Goku escape the gum, and with a quick display of power, Giran resigns. It's obvious why people think this is an unearned power-up, but what if I told you it's just not a power-up? Only the dub has Goku say he feels so much stronger with his tail. The sub, and especially the manga, imply that his tail only gave him extra time to break out of the gum since it took a bit of effort. So I'd say this isn't a case of an unearned power-up, more so just a classic dubism. You may think the next unearned power-up is against Tao Pai Pai, but I think the 3 days of training with Master Karin and the additional explanation later on of it being a Zenkai boost are more than enough for it to make sense and feel earned. Don't worry though, we'll talk about Zenkais, specifically without training, more later on. For now, the more important Master Karin power-up to talk about is 2 arcs later when Goku drinks the Ultra Divine Water. This is actually the very first potential unlock in the series, and it's a power-up that's a complicated one to cover due to how the story of Dragon Ball changed with the Z, but the easy answer is it was earned in the anime for sure, as Goku needed to go on a journey and even face a fake version of Master Roshi just to drink it. In the manga though, the answer will be based on how you feel about the payoff. You see, for the longest time, Goku's Ozaru form was a mystery and a dangerous one at that. But after drinking the Ultra Divine Water, the Great Ape form changed into a representation of Goku's own hidden potential. This payoff is quickly abandoned, however, especially after Goku being an alien and the Saiyans themselves are introduced. So I think it's fair to think of this one as unearned, but I can personally see it both ways. After this, we could skip ahead quite a bit till we reach.
Okay, I just want to say I didn't expect that this was what the video is going to be about. I thought it was going to be talking about specific characters that people say that are unearned. I do hear a lot of times people saying stupid shit like, this character got an ass pull, that's an ass pull. They say everything's an ass pull when it comes to Dragon Ball. They said Super Saiyan 1 was an ass pull, which is the dumbest statement because it was stated by Guru multiple times. Way before Super Saiyan was even introduced, they talked about Super Saiyan multiple times, so it was leading up into it. It wasn't a BS. And Goku training through the 100 times Earth's gravity and all those other times he got beaten up and powered up more, that was not an ass pull. That's just people who say that are just stupid. You're an idiot. Getting a power up doesn't mean it's just an ass pull or this came out of nowhere. What an ass pull is basically a character who barely does anything and gets a ridiculous power up or transformation, especially if that ridiculous power and transformation was not touched upon before. Like, it just comes out of nowhere, and there was no explanation of it. But even then, that doesn't mean it's a ass pull unless the character didn't work for it. That's the problem that I have with a lot of the characters in modern day Dragon Ball. Mainly in Dragon Ball Super, we have these characters, they obtain insane amount of power from doing barely anything. They barely train, and when they do training, it's nowhere near that intense. And then you have characters just getting out of transformations that have never been explained. For example, like Trunks. He went from getting his ass whooped by, Black Frieza, not Black Frieza, Goku Black, for a whole year. For a whole year, he was way weaker than him. And then one moment he comes back to the present time in our timeline, wherever, and sees Goku in them, and he deals with Vegeta, and then he goes back to that timeline. He randomly just gets this new transformation. 1, the Super Saiyan Rage was never explained. 2, it was never hinted at. 3, it came out of nowhere. 4, it has no connection at all. And then 5, he was able to gain an insane power boost and this new form just by getting angry, but he was dealing with this guy for a whole year and barely got any stronger. And now he fought with, Goku and Vegeta, and out of nowhere now he unlocked a new power. That is an ass pull. But these stuff, they're not ass pulls. They're just, minor explanations. And I wouldn't consider that, an unearned power-up, because he did have to drink water and, a divine water that gave him that power. So it's like saying Guru, I forgot how to pronounce it correctly. Yeah, I forgot how to pronounce it correctly, but when he unlocked their potential, that isn't an unearned power-up. That is just a power system that they created, or like an idea that they created that can give them more of a power-up. But if it's just to say they were able to get this insane level of power from basic level training, whereas these characters had to train harder to obtain it, then I would have considered that as unearned, because the other people actually had to bust their ass off to get this, whereas this person barely did anything to get it. That's unearned. But him drink the divine water to unlock his power, I don't consider that as unearned. That is just a different way to write somebody getting more power.
Dragon Ball Z and that planet everyone wants to invade, Namek. This portion of the series is where everyone who was on Namek just kept getting juiced up, and honestly, it doesn't surprise me that people feel like a lot of this stuff is unearned. Let's start with the potential unlocks. Gohan, Krillin, and less importantly, Dende get their hidden power unlocked, and of course, it's described as power they've always had, but it still doesn't feel that great that this is the way Krillin and Gohan catch up, especially when they're still so far behind. But that might actually be a good thing, showing that potential unlocks have a limited ability to make a character catch up without anything additional. This doesn't necessarily stay true later on, though. I can quickly go over Piccolo here as well. I think merging with Nail is a pretty powerful moment, showing both Piccolo's growth and Nail's resolve to do what he must for his people and planet Namek. So I think this power-up is narratively earned, and I think most people agree with that. The bigger issue is actually Piccolo's power before the merge. Depending on the source, Piccolo got 5 to 10 times stronger from merging with Nail. This skyrocketed his power level to over 1 million, as he was able to handle second form Frieza, but that would mean in the 5 days he trained with King Kai, he went from a power level of 3,500 to a power level between 100 and 200,000. I don't care if he technically trained for it, that's bullshit. The other famous unearned power-ups in this arc are ones I've already mentioned, Zenkai boosts. When a Saiyan survives a battle,
I do agree with these. I do think that the power-ups in this Frieza saga were a little ridiculous. Like, yeah, you can say, well, he fused a Nail, but Nail's power level was only 40,000. Frieza's first form was 530,000, and then he went like over 1 million in his second form, and Piccolo was able to dog like his second form. Only once when he went to his third form he was getting completely beaten, but he was stronger than his second form, which was over 1 million. And Nail only had 40,000, and him going up to, like he said, around hundreds of thousands is ridiculous for me to think that Piccolo got that stronger by King Kai's training, because Goku, even though Goku came there with the weaker power level, his jump in power from his weaker power level to that wasn't as insane. Actually, maybe it might have been, because if you think about it, I think Goku's power was like 400 something, and then it went to literally to like 8,000 and stuff like that. And yeah, it went to like 8,000, which that is actually quite a lot. And then Piccolo's went from like 3,500 to 200,000, but still, that's insanely way more. But still, the training is kind of BS right there. But him fusing with Nail, who had 40,000, and him going above a million, I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think even of their fusion, like the Namekian fusion, is more powerful. It should be that much more powerful. It's just ridiculous. And another time, I think he's gonna talk about in this video. I personally think that this was one of the biggest BS power-ups, and I still don't know how he got this much power. And it was Goku from when he was, his body got snatched by Captain Ginyu. Once when it got snatched by Captain Ginyu, and then when he went back to his original body after he got beaten up by Vegeta and Gohan and Krillin, and he went to the rejuvenation chamber. He came out insanely more powerful. I think he came out with the power level of 3 million, because Super Saiyan was 50 times that. So he came out with 3 million. Before that, when he was fighting against Captain Ginyu, his power level was like 180,000, right? How do you jump from 180,000 to 3 million from getting beaten up once? And yes, you can say, well, he got beaten up badly. But if you look at it, the damage that he took, especially from Vegeta, wasn't even that significant. Goku's gotten his ass beat way worse, and these other characters got their asses beat way worse, and they didn't get that insane of a power up. Vegeta got beaten up by the rest of the Ginyu Force far worse than Goku did by, Vegeta when he was attacking his body. So, and Vegeta, he did get a power up, but he didn't get that high of an astronomical level of power up. So I just felt like it was kind of BS there. Goku's power up in that regard, because how do you go from 180,000 to 3 million with getting beaten up once and getting a Zenkai boost once? It should not be that high, because every other time we saw the Zenkai boost, the multiplier didn't multiply to that extent.
Battle from the brink of death, they get stronger. This happens for Goku, Gohan, and especially Vegeta. The point of these is to show that, in isolation, they actually are pretty ineffective. While Vegeta is able to deal with Frieza's initial underlings with Zenkai boosts, all it took was the Ginyu Force to show up, and if it hadn't been for Goku, he would have died before growing stronger than them. Even earlier than the Ginyus, Zarbon would have killed Vegeta if they didn't need him alive. Only furthering my point. Gohan's Zenkai boosts are equally ineffective, as are his Rage boosts at this point, so it only leaves us with Goku, who specifically trained while inadvertently getting Zenkais from it. This combination of training and Zenkai boosts earned him the power to take on the Ginyu Force in the same way I explained earlier with the Tao Pai Pai rematch. He did later get a very important and massive Zenkai boost that is basically one of the two reasons Frieza is defeated, so if you think that one is unearned, I can't really blame you, because it is super convenient after all. Though, I will say for Zenkais on the whole, for an arc that's dedicated to accepting and learning about heritage, getting power-ups through his genetics is thematically consistent at least. Which takes us to the dumb argument people have made in more recent years, though usually they're not actually Dragon Ball fans. Super Saiyan. It's not an unearned power-up. Training isn't the same as earning. More often than not, something being thematically or narratively earned is even more important and more satisfying than if it's acquired through training. This isn't the only thematically earned power-up either. That doesn't mean training can't be used as a good way to show that a power-up is earned though. The Cell Saga as a whole is a lot of power-ups earned through training actually, like the Super Saiyan grades. Other power-
Yeah, so talking about that, I talked about it earlier. People who say that, he's right. They're not real Dragon Ball fans. These guys just want to shit on the franchise and say, everything was badly written. Because they keep on saying, this is a plot armor, this is that. Like, shut the fuck up, you stupid asses. Like, you're not even making sense now. How the fuck is Super Saiyan a bullshit? You're just saying any transformation or power-up is now just bullshit. What do they have to do? Give you a whole fucking paragraph or 100 episodes to explain that, oh, we're going to lead up into this. We're going to lead up into this. No other franchise, like, when we watch other animes, they have characters that get transformations. They don't have to go into that much detail and explain it to get the transformation, and when they do, people don't really are like, oh my god, this is BS, unless if the transformation just came out of nowhere and they didn't really do much to obtain it. But Goku went through a bunch of Zenkai boosts, got trained, got his ass beat, and also was mentioned many times about the Super Saiyan, so there was nothing leading up to that being an ass pull. Even if we want to say Super Saiyan 3, that's also I wouldn't consider an ass pull, because he was in heaven for 7 years training with a body that it doesn't have limitations of like stamina and stuff like that, so it would make sense that he would be able to obtain that. So these are not ass pulls. I get it for certain transformations, like Super Saiyan Blue Evolved or one of these other ones that are random. That I get it, but just saying it to anyone, it's like you're just trying to hate on the franchise so much that you're trying to discredit it and make it sound like it's complete trash. Oh yeah, it's an ass pull Super Saiyan. It's like, that's dumb as shit. Because there's countless other animes where they have characters transform like crazy. Nobody calls them ass pulls. Why? Because it's reasonable. It's not like they're writing 10,000 more things than, Dragon Ball and explaining more in depth on how they got it. We don't have to always go into 100% in depth stuff, because most animes we watch, they have like a couple of hints or like little bit of foreshadowing of, these events that's going to happen, that's going to lead to this power up, and that's enough for us as fans to be like, whoa, at least they foreshadowed it, and they also had some, hints dropped here and there, so it makes sense. For Dragon Ball, when they did Super Saiyan, they didn't even just make subtle hints. They literally outwardly stated it. So we knew where it was going to lead into. So the fact that you're saying it's an ass pull means you just hate on it, because other shows have subtle ones and we accept it, but this one is overtly obvious, and you're saying that it doesn't make any sense. That's just dumb.
Power-ups are earned thematically, like Piccolo merging with Kami and Gohan getting Super Saiyan 2. Which leads us nicely to the Buu Saga, where the beginning is all power-ups earned through 7 years of training. Majin Vegeta is a potential unlock, but it's a very character-driven one rather than a random power boost to help him just catch up, and the point is, it's unearned by his own admission. So does it even matter if being unearned is actually the point? As much as I don't like Super Saiyan 3 narratively, it is explained well enough, and Goku continuing to evolve Super Saiyan makes sense when you consider the fact that that was his main training goal in the Cell Saga. I think the main unearned power-up in the entire arc is Gohan's ultimate form, and personally, I'm a bit mixed on it. While I understand that Gohan is getting his own potential unlocked, it does suck to have him built up to be the next protagonist, only to have him slack off enough that he needs this boost. That being said, he did train for the Tenkaichi Budokai, and even trained with the Z-Sword as well. Then, considering how Goku struggled to lift the Z-Sword, base Gohan might actually be stronger than base Goku at this point, so maybe you could consider the potential unlock a reward for his hard training. This is just an
I agree with those other points. I don't agree with that. Goku, when he first rapped on it, he didn't expect it to be that heavy. He just wanted to test out, so it caught him by surprise. But if you see afterwards, he's swinging it very well. And even the Kaiser, mentioning that, damn, Goku has a pretty good handle of it. He did it way better than Gohan. Gohan was struggling, from the beginning. Goku was doing actually pretty decent, so no, I would not say that base Gohan was stronger than Goku. He did get stronger. He did train with it for quite a bit. Goku just got there and started using it, and like I said, he didn't expect it to be like that. But I do think Goku was still stronger than him, because if you watch right after that, he's casually swinging it around way easier than even Gohan is, and Gohan had to train more just to use it. It's just at first he didn't expect it. He's like, oh, whoa, this is pretty heavy. But after that, he's using it pretty fairly well. So I don't really agree with that point.
Another case where I can see it both ways. Then we get into modern Dragon Ball with Dragon Ball Super. Well, technically Dragon Ball Z, since both Battle of Gods and Resurrection F were actually Dragon Ball Z movies first, and there are actually 2 power-ups to talk about in Battle of Gods. The first might be surprising, but it's Vegeta's Rage boost against Beerus. You see, Rage boosts before modern Dragon Ball were entirely left to Gohan, with other characters only getting a boost from their rage via a new transformation like Super Saiyan. This unprecedented way to get a power-up for a character that isn't Gohan actually leads me to think it's fairly unearned, but I'm sure that's a contentious opinion. Then we of course have Super Saiyan God. To me, the issue of foreshadowing this form is rectified by having Battle of Gods be an arc rather than just a movie, but even in the context of the movie, it's foreshadowed fairly well. You could think it's unearned due to it being acquired via a ritual, but the movie at least addresses this as Goku's main complaint with the form. Honestly though, Goku is the only reason the ritual can happen in the first place. He's earned this power by being the person who made it possible for 5 other righteous Saiyans to even exist. Remember, characters are more than the arc that's currently happening. Their history matters for stuff like this, and for me, that makes this power-up work extremely well. Super Saiyan Blue is of course earned through training, and even if you dislike the fact that Golden Frieza only required 4 months of training, does that make it unearned? This is why just training for something doesn't make it clear if it's earned or unearned. We don't have a line for how much training is good enough, and honestly,
okay, this is where I really disagree with him. Okay, first let's talk about Vegeta's transformation. I did talk about this. I felt like it was unearned. The fact that his Super Saiyan 2 form with just a Rage Boost was able to surpass Super Saiyan 3 Goku makes no sense that you can gap that, power, multiplier by simply just getting angry. By that logic, Goku wouldn't even need Super Saiyan 3 because it consumes so much energy. All he would need to do is be really angry in Super Saiyan 2. And then also the fact that The reason Rage Boost worked for Gohan is because he's a hybrid Saiyan, and we know that that's where he draws most of his power from. But a full-blooded Saiyan, they don't really have that advantage. And also on top of it, we saw what happened with Vegeta and the Cell Saga, where Cell took out Trunks and he was super pissed, but he didn't really get any boost in power when he got angry. He literally was barely any more powerful than he was before that. It was just that he was more aggressive. So by that logic of getting a Rage Boost was able to do that jump of a power, he should have got stronger than Gohan. He should have been the one to kill Cell because his power level should have jumped up more than the Super Saiyan 2, which is only 2 times multiplier. So he should have been able to surpass that, but he didn't, so it doesn't make sense. Personally, I felt like they could have fixed it if he went Super Saiyan 3. Some people might have said that's unearned, but remember, at this point he trained like years after, Goku and stuff like that, and it would have been at least more reasonable for him to get a Rage Boost that unlocked Super Saiyan 3 and surpass Super Saiyan 3 Goku than just him getting so angry in Super Saiyan 2 that he somehow surpasses Super Saiyan 3 Goku. That doesn't make any sense, especially due to the fact that he admitted that he needed the Majin Vegeta power-up to match up with even Goku's Super Saiyan 2 form. Super Saiyan 2 Goku was stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta. He needed that additional power boost because in base, Goku was a bit stronger than him. But Super Saiyan God, I don't think is unearned. I don't think he's using the term correctly. Unearned is basically a character getting a power-up from, a transformation or just power-up in general, where they didn't train at all for it, or didn't have its story narrative-wise written reasonable to why that happened. But the story explained the ritual and how it works, so there's no problem with that. And it's been prophesied, so I don't have a problem with that. The only problem I have with Super Saiyan God is how Vegeta got it. I think Vegeta, the way he got it in Resurrection of F, I think that was unearned, because they stated before the only way to get it was to do the ritual. Even though Goku was, stronger than him, he stated that even in a million years he couldn't obtain it, and then Vegeta just gets it from training with Whis. I just think that's lazy. I think they should have just gone the ritual route, because we had Shenron state that the only way you can get is from having 5 pure-hearted Saiyans to do it. So if all you had to do is train with something like Whis or something like that, he would have explained all you need to do is to be trained in the godly manner or some shit like that. But I think his power-up was BS, him getting Super Saiyan God. Goku's, on the other hand, it's stuck with the narrative of the ritual, which is reasonable. But he's saying Frieza's power-up makes sense. He's saying Super Saiyan Blue makes sense. I'll agree with that. I do think Super Saiyan Blue is is way too weak for what it should be. So it's the opposite of it being overpowered. It's more underpowered. It should be way stronger. But Frieza, I don't agree with that. The statement of just, well, he never trained a day in his life and he was powerful from birth, does not mean he should just be getting able to get as strong as possible. He's like, there shouldn't be a line to it. Is there a line to how much? Yes, there is. It's reasonable. How the fuck are you going to tell me Frieza goes from being weaker than Super Saiyan Goku all the way back in the Frieza saga to being able to surpass, Super Saiyan Super Saiyan Blue Goku even in, this movie, which he would have the Super Saiyan God multiplier on his base and then times out with the other forms. So that doesn't make any sense that he would jump that much significantly in power. Because if he could, why wouldn't he just train at least even a bit? Even if he's saying he's lazy, he can't be that lazy that if he's that afraid of the Saiyans that he will wipe out an armada of people that work for him and that are very useful, that he's that afraid. He could have simply just trained to surpass them. It's just dumb as shit. It's just stupid. So I don't agree with him on that. Frieza did not earn that, because even with the natural power-up, he wasn't that much more powerful to the point where Goku and Vegeta had to train multiple times, get multiple, Zenkai boosts, power-ups, and all this shit just to get as powerful as they are, and him just getting powerful with 4 months. That is definitely an ass pull of a power move. Also, him knowing he has another transformation but never mentioned it before, that is also an ass pull. They just threw that transformation out of nowhere just to give him a BS power-up. So I don't agree with him on that.
You could call it unearned, and I wouldn't blame you at all. Which leads us to Super Saiyan Rage, the form Trunks acquires in the Dragon Ball Super anime. It has one of the coolest reasons to transform ever in the series. Trunks is basically being told it's his fault everything bad has happened, and he refuses to accept that, but that's about all we get. There's no foreshadowing, no explanation, and we're meant to forget it the minute the arc ends. I think you can headcanon a way for it to be earned, but it's never really acknowledged in the narrative, so I don't think we should either. either. This should be obvious, but I think it's unearned. Then we get to the contentious power-ups that happen before the Tournament of Power. There are quite a few, but some are just misunderstood. Like the fact that Krillin isn't as strong as Blue Goku. Goku was testing how Krillin would handle such a large gap in power, which is exactly what Gohan and Android 18 say. Goku's clearly holding back as not to kill Krillin, and a god form is the best way to do that since they can't sense how strong he is. Not to mention the fact that Krillin was losing regardless. Then we have Android 17 actually be
I do agree with that. So like I said already with the Rage Trunks form, it did make good sense because they're saying they're like you're a sin for doing that. He's like it's not a sin to protect people. I thought that was very great, but just going based off of story writing to compromise the logic that you have for the power scaling is stupid. You could have had it where Trunks was getting stronger and obtained Super Saiyan 3. You could have had it where Trunks trained with Vegeta and Vegeta was like, hey look, I know specifically how to get you stronger. Whis helped me train, I'm gonna help you train. We're gonna do the hyperbolic time chamber to do this. They could have done something like that, but like just saying, well, oh, he had this emotional stuff, it sounds nice, but then it's also illogical. But I do agree with the Krillin thing. I think people are over exaggerating that. Goku literally stated that he is trying to show him because he said that there's gonna be beings that are godly level or have godly power like us. So if you are, he's just trying to test his mettle. If he was tough enough, it wasn't to see his strength. It was just his, his tenacity in that regard. But I want to see what he says about 17 because I do have something to say about this one.
being Super Saiyan Blue Goku level, and yeah, that's just unearned. I don't have much to say here. Finally, Gohan also rivals Super Saiyan Blue Goku, but that isn't from less than a day of training with Piccolo like most people think. After Resurrection F, Gohan asks to be trained by Piccolo again, and we even see them training before the Universe 6 tournament. If you for some reason don't believe this, compare Gohan in Resurrection F to Gohan in the Zen exhibition. Even before he trained with Piccolo for a final time, Gohan is clearly in way better shape than when he faced Frieza. Obviously, the narrative could do a better job of reminding you that Gohan has been doing some training, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. So in a world where Frieza gets to God level from Namek level in 4 months, I think Gohan training for 2 years to go from Buu Saga level to God level is completely fine, relative to the more egregious examples at least. People then complain.
I will agree with some points there. He did go back to training, but we just don't know how much. I do think that the power scaling for Gohan in general just didn't make any sense. We had Gohan from the Buu Saga to at least in the anime maybe from the Buu Saga to Resurrection of F and stuff like that. It was like only a year had passed, or roughly a little over a year, right? And he went from being Mystic Gohan level, especially because even in the Battle of Gods movie, he was still had Mystic. He went from Mystic level to literally weak, so weak that he could only use Super Saiyan 1. He said, I can't use my Mystic form anymore. I can't even use Super Saiyan 2. I don't even know if I can use Super Saiyan 1. So he could only really use Super Saiyan 1, and he got so significantly weaker. He got weaker than Gohan was when he was in the Buu Saga from the Cell Saga, and that was a 7-year time gap where he didn't train at all. So his power in general, his fluctuation of how weak they make him to how strong they make him is very inconsistent. 2 years of training, yes, he said, well, Frieza, if he can get that much in 4 months, it should make sense for Gohan to get that in 2 years. I do understand that, but also it's kind of like the argument is kind of going based off of, well, this was a badly written, power-up. So if they accepted that badly written power-up, then it's okay for other ones that are just at least not as bad. It's like, yeah, they're not as bad as that one, but that one was pretty shit to begin with. That was an ass pull. So you shouldn't go based off of ass pulls, because then it's like you're just making leeway for them to have BS writing as long as it isn't too over the top. It's like, we shouldn't be accepting that. But I don't think it's too bad, like I said. And I still don't think he was on Super Saiyan Blue's level completely. I just think he was able to contend a little bit. And if they allowed 17 to do that by fighting poachers, which he stated was unearned, which I agree with that, then it should be fair enough for him. I just think that I don't like the idea of going based off of, well, they've had shittier written reasonings, so it's okay to have still pretty shit, but not completely shit reasoning on why they're that powerful. It's just ridiculous to say that.
about the Universe 6 Saiyans, specifically Caulifla, because they don't like the way she unlocks Super Saiyan. While I agree the way it was explained is pretty lame, I do understand the idea that once something is discovered once, it's much easier to teach others how to replicate it. We skipped over this, but my basic view on Caulifla is that if you don't think Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks are unearned, then you shouldn't think this is either, and the same is true in reverse. Then in the tournament itself, plenty of power-ups happen. Ultra Instinct was of course something Goku had been training towards with Whis since Resurrection F, so I think
Okay, for that part, my problem for me, I know other people's is different. For me, it wasn't the fact that she obtained Super Saiyan. I don't think Super Saiyan is anything too crazy at this point to obtain. But my problem was the explanation. Saying tingly feeling your back was not correct. We know for a long time that it was simply just rage. Goku even went with that. He's like, you have to put yourself in high intensity situations that they're very dire. So it's very like needed, and then there's the anger that you need to draw out of you. If they went that route, I have no problem with that. The only problem I really have is the transformations afterwards. Getting Super Saiyan 1 was fine, but then she unlocked Super Saiyan 2 literally within like a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds right after that, which I thought that was dumb because even Kaba, the guy who trained her, who had Super Saiyan for a year at this point, didn't unlock Super Saiyan 2 until he got into the Tournament of Power. So I thought that was BS because, and some people might say, well, she probably has more potential, but remember, Vados was choosing the best candidates for the Universe 6 versus 7 tournament, so why would she choose, Kaba over, Kefla or Kale if they have more potential? She, especially with their knowledge, like, the angels, with their knowledge and their staff, she should have been able to find out that he wasn't the best possible situation or, person to pick from the Saiyan side. So that is not true. By her searching for it, she found him as the most viable candidate from the Saiyan side that would give them the biggest advantage, meaning he should be the strongest, yet he was surpassed by them easily. So I consider that BS. The fact that he had it for a whole year and had to be pushed aggressively to unlock it, where she just got the tingly feeling thing and then saw Kale going off, and then she unlocked it right afterwards. And then also Kale, her berserk state, I think that was also bullshit, and then what she was able to accomplish with that state, I think was even more BS. So I don't like those things. But them unlocking Super Saiyan, I don't have a problem with it. I just wish they didn't do the tingly back feeling bullshit. I wish they just went through how they did with, how Goku trained Gohan. But besides that, I don't have a problem with Super Saiyan. It's just the Super Saiyan 2 and then, the other one getting Berserk form. I think that was dumb. And like I said, Vados was picking the best candidates for Champa to win, right? If she's going to pick the best candidates and pick a Saiyan, why would you pick a Saiyan that's weaker than these other two? If these other two have better potential, why did you pick them? Oh, you know why? Because it's shit writing. It's the writers were like, oh, wait, we were going to put him in there, but then later on they're like, wait, we should make these guys stronger. But then that contradicts that. Why would Vados pick him if he's not the best? She basically screwed over, Champa at that point then.
Everyone understands why that works. I think the one that people point to as the most unearned is actually Blue Evolution. While Goku trained to use Kaioken with Super Saiyan Blue, Vegeta unlocked this form during the tournament itself. It entirely comes from Vegeta wanting to fulfill his promise to Kaba, but it's really hollow. There is a narrative behind it, especially with his whole speech about Saiyans breaking their limits towards the end of the tournament, but I think it would have been better if he got it during his fight with God of Destruction Toppo, since he would be rewarded for rejecting Toppo's philosophy. Either way, I don't think I can call it unearned entirely. There is a theme behind it, but I can say it's pretty lame though. Then I don't think there's actually anything to cover in the Broly movie. If you're really concerned about how Broly is so powerful, he trained for 40 years, has insane potential, got stronger during the fight, and had transformations on top of it all. Usually we only get one of those things to explain how someone's so strong, so having all of them makes it earned enough for me. To briefly touch on the Dragon Ball Super manga, I think just about everything is earned in the Moro arc. Then in the Granola arc, these two guys wish to be the strongest in the universe. That's clearly unearned, and I don't even think that's a hot take. Finally, we have Dragon Ball Super Superhero.
Okay, let's talk about the Broly thing. 100% disagree. Just because you explain something doesn't mean that you should give it no limit to what that happens. Like, it's just so dumb. Oh, they explained a shitty ass ways of why he should be getting those power ups. That doesn't mean why he should get those powers up to that level. Okay, let's go into it. I want to first go back and see what he said here with the Blue Evolve thing. Okay. I do think it's kind of unearned because it just came out of nowhere. I feel like, let's be honest, the reality is the reason why they gave him that was because Goku had Super Saiyan Blue. They both had Super Saiyan Blue, but then they gave him the Kaioken on top of it. So they gave him an additional power boost, and they want to make Vegeta more equal. So like, let's just give him a BS power up, Blue Evolution or Blue Evolved, whatever. And it's like, what is this? It's just like a more darker colored and a little buffer version of Super Saiyan Blue. It's lazy done. I'm sorry, that was just dumb. If you want to give him more of a power up, they should have set that up earlier on and done something with it beforehand instead of now. I just think it was dumb. But Broly, I think that's bullshit. Yes, they gave us different reasons. They said, oh, he had high power level. He, trained for years, and then he was getting strong in the fight. First of all, why is he getting strong in the fight? We know that Saiyans only get a Zenkai boost after they get beaten up and healed up. He was getting stronger while he was fighting. That's not a Saiyan trait. That's not natural. That doesn't make any sense. You hit, that makes sense for hit and stuff like that because they're different species. But he's a Saiyan, and we know that's not how Saiyans work when they get more powerful. Yes, they can get stronger as they train, but he was literally fighting and he got stronger, and exponentially too, so that's bullshit. Second of all, the power level, he had a high power level. Stop with that. That high potential shit this is a crutch that they used, so Toriyama used and, Toei used, just so they can give us these characters to get these ridiculous power-ups. Because now they're like, well, we can, instead of having an in-depth reasoning for this, they just say, naturally they had a high power level, so that would make sense why they're so strong. But remember, Broly's power was not that insane. In the original, he was like 10,000, so he was around as strong as Bardock as a baby. But in this one, he was like around 900, which is still powerful, but he's a little bit weaker than Raditz. So as an infant or a toddler, he was like around the power a little bit less, or quite a bit less than, Raditz. Wow, that makes sense that a guy that was a kid that was almost as strong as Raditz, for 40 years of fighting just automatically becomes as powerful. And even if you want to say, well, 40 years he trained, but what did he do? He fought literally giant spider creatures and giant wolf bug creatures. We had Vegeta. Because if we want to go by that logic, remember, Vegeta as a kid had a high power level too. His potential was even higher than Broly's. A lot of people say, well, Broly's was high. Remember, his was 900. Vegeta had a power level of 12,000 as a kid. So he had a higher power level. Yes, at first he started off with more, but Vegeta got him more power like as a toddler. And then not only that, Vegeta trained with Cybermen who are equivalent to power as Raditz, who could casually tank a moon-busting attack. The creatures on Planet Vampa were not moon-busting level creatures, let's be honest. A giant spider mutated creature and a giant wolf worm creature is not going to be able to tank moon-destroying attacks. So we have Vegeta, who one, had a high level of power and high potential already too, and two, he trained even harder and also went to planets and conquered them, so that would have been also giving him more training boost. And this guy's high potential wasn't even that high. And then also, yes, he was trained for 40 years, but let's be honest, it's on and off, and it's against bug creatures. And we also know as training, like when you train, if you do something consistently, the same thing over and over again, after a while, the gains that you get from doing that same thing is not going to, increase your power. It's only when you do something more intense, because you have to, like let's say when you go lifting weights, for you to gain more muscle, you have to up, the intensity of the amount of, weights that you're lifting or the amount of reps that you're doing to gain more power, muscle or strength. If you just keep on doing the same level of weights, you're not going to really, at first you're going to gain something, but then you're going to stop and, flatline. So to say, well, he was doing this for 40 years. Yeah, he was fighting against weak-ass bug creatures. Goku and Vegeta were fighting against, galactic beings, getting training with each other, getting Zenkai boosts. He was fighting weak-ass creatures. That doesn't, match up. That doesn't contest to it. It doesn't make any sense. So, the problem is the fact that he was fighting against threats, he was training against stuff that wasn't that severe. What Goku and Vegeta went through was way more severe. Even, Vegeta as a kid went through more severe training than Broly did in that 40 years. He was just repetitively doing the same thing. And then second of all, the problem is he was against the same enemy, so it wasn't like he was getting even bigger threats. Goku and Vegeta were fighting against stronger and stronger opponents that pushed them. He wasn't fighting against anybody that pushed him, so I don't agree with that. Broly shouldn't have been initially that strong, and he should have been getting stronger. Saiyans don't get naturally stronger like that just out of nowhere. They have to do something to do it. And then his training was also weak, and then his high potential wasn't even that high. So those are just three lazily thrown things. And I hate the high potential thing. This person has a high potential. That's literally a crutch to have these characters just get BS power boost. without actually training as hard. You have Goku and Vegeta who have to bust their ass off to get these, whereas these characters, they just get it by saying simply, well, they had high potential, they had this potential. That's a lazy cop-out. That's just a lazy cop-out. Yes, obviously, in real life also, there's people who have higher potentials than others that they can reach it, higher levels of like stats without training as hard, but to this degree, it was still pretty stupid, so I disagree with them on that. He said the gas and stuff is unearned. Unearned in the sense of them, I wouldn't say unearned in, for me personally, I think he's just going based more off of like narrative writing, like narratively, they didn't deserve it. But for me, I think unearned more means of like writing wise, logic wise. Is it reasonable that they got this powerful? And yes, I would say that Gas and Granola getting that powerful is a little bit unreasonable, but it's not that unreasonable, especially compared to the rest of the characters' power up.
Big two cases of unearned power are Piccolo and Gohan. I have a whole video dedicated to how we got to Orange Piccolo, but I will briefly say it's his dragon. Kami and Piccolo are one again, so Shenron was originally the dragon he made. This is power that comes from himself at the end of the day, and it even ties into the journey of Namekian warriors during times of great suffering that we learned about in Dragon Ball Super. Narratively, this is very different than the characters of the Granola arc who selfishly lusted for power, especially when you remember Piccolo only wanted his own potential unlocked, not to be the strongest person in the universe. Which leaves us with Beast Gohan, and I'm extremely torn on this. In the Dragon Ball Super anime, Gohan tells Goku he's going to make an ultimate form that no one has ever seen before, which manifests itself as Beast Gohan. That's cool and would have been great had it been earned through some other means. Obviously, Gohan has been doing some amount of training since he taught himself the Makanko Seppo, but he didn't unlock Beast until we got a one-to-one recreation of his Super Saiyan 2 transformation. It just feels hollow, like Super Saiyan Rage Trunks did, and then when you remember Gohan was just stapled onto what was supposed to be a Piccolo movie, I'll be brave and call the form unearned. Maybe the manga version will fix it up a bit. But that's all I got.
So that was a pretty good video by Carthu Dojo's the unearned power-ups from Dragon Ball, but I did disagree with quite a bit of, not quite a bit, but some of his points that he made. The Beast Gohan and Piccolo stuff, I mentioned that before. I don't have a problem with them getting that power-up. I just felt like that there was better routes they could have done. Like, they stated that in the Battle of Gods movie, when Shenron was, they're asking him about like Super Saiyan God, he said in the Namekian book of legend or lore that, this is how you obtain Super Saiyan God, which I want to know why Namekians had a book writing about a Super Saiyan God, or the Saiyans in general. They don't really communicate that much, but I felt like if he wanted that power up, all he had to do was remember that and say, hey, let me check out this book. It showed Goku and Vegeta, how to become, what's the thing called? It showed them how to become that powerful. Maybe I can use it too. And he could have, contacted Dende and stuff like that, or talked to Dende and said, hey, do you know about the Namekian book of lore or whatever? And then have him oh, no, but, there's people on Namek that contacted and, try to find a way for him to get there. He could have, you could have had Supreme Kai come and help him teleport him there or whatever, and he could have learned more about it and obtained the information on how to unlock Super Saiyan, like a Namekian God form, just like a Super Saiyan God. And for Gohan, like I said, I don't have a problem. All I think is, personally, I think they could have just done it where on his off time, Whis could have trained him. Like how he trained Vegeta to obtain Super Saiyan God, he could have trained him and said, hey, look, I see you have great potential, even better than your own father and Vegeta. It's just that you don't train as hard, and I feel like you're missing some steps. I helped Vegeta and your dad become this powerful, so I can help you out too. So he could have helped him, obtain Super Saiyan God, and then, absorb that into his, mystic form, and then had a combination of a godly mystic form that created the beast form. That would have been better. But Broly, like I said, I don't agree with that. I think Broly and Frieza definitely didn't earn it. You can't just say they had high potential, so that means they deserve to be as powerful as much as they want. That is such a cop-out. Oh, so they had a high potential, that means that they can train a modicum of what Goku and Vegeta did, and they can just automatically get as powerful as they want to be. That's stupid. That's just dumb. We wouldn't give that exception to any other characters, but we're giving it to these guys. And the Broly thing, yeah, he said they have these 3 different things, but they're all pretty stupid. Like I said, 40 years of training against weak creatures, especially not being challenged, is not going to make you more powerful. It's just going to keep you stagnant, and those creatures were nowhere near as powerful as, you know, what Vegeta was doing, training against Cybermen and going to other planets, conquering, you know, these races. That should have made him way more powerful. And then also him getting strong as he fights, that makes no sense, because Saiyans don't get like that. Yes, you can sometimes see it with the Zenkai boosts and stuff, and maybe some rage powers, but as to his extent, no, I don't think so. So I disagree with that. I do think that a lot of the characters in Dragon Ball Super and modern day Dragon Ball, I would say in general, their power-ups were unearned, whereas old school Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, some you can argue, but as a whole, I think it was pretty decently earned. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for next time.